This week on the Media Boss Podcast.
I think that in this universe, when there are two bodies as big as us that how could we not be attracted to each other? How could everything you've been doing and I've been doing not lead to this moment?
Media Boss Podcast is brought to you by two of our new partners. One is Pantheon. I can't wait to tell you about them later. And brought to you by Convert and Flow. You're going to learn so much about them. But now it's time for the Media Boss Podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Media Boss Podcast. I am Dr. Barrett Matthews, and I am excited to be here, excited to have you here, and I'm excited to have another episode with another great guest. You're saying, Barrett, you always say that. And you know what? I'm always right on that. I always have great guests. I can't help that. But it's going to be a great show. You're going to enjoy it. Now, if this is your first time listening to the Media Boss Podcast, I want to tell you what it's all about. See, I believe that everybody, and I mean everybody, consumes their information through one form of media or another. So my thinking is this: if you are someone who wants more exposure, stop going around trying to find people. Make yourself visible to them. If they are looking for their information, you need to be where they are. So put your information in all forms of media. And that's what we do. And once you can do that, you can become what I call a media boss. Now, what I want you guys to do is make sure you're subscribed to the podcast and make sure you're sharing this with everyone. Make sure everyone knows that you're listening to the Media Boss Podcast or watching us if you're watching us right now. Also, what I like to do when I start off every single episode is I like to give you what I call the Media Minute. Now, what is the Media Minute? Media Minute is where I give you some news, a tip, some information about media that I think you may find interesting. Now, one thing I'm talking about today is that of the very successful person in media, Mr. Byron Allen. Byron Allen started out as a stand-up comic. I'm old, so I remember when he was doing stand-up comedy. Now he's somewhat of a media mogul. Yeah. And as a media mogul, Byron has got TV shows on different outlets all over the place. Well, one of the things that he has done right now is he has filed a lawsuit against McDonald's. Now, why McDonald's? Because McDonald's has not been airing any of their commercials on any of his networks, any of his shows, rather. And he's trying to figure out why the heck wouldn't McDonald's want to advertise on his show? So he's filed a lawsuit, a discrimination lawsuit against them. Well, I don't know if it's going to go through. I don't know what's going to happen, but I thought that would be something that you all would be interested in knowing about, because you can't have discrimination in the media, that's for sure. Now, I want to bring my guest on today. Now, I was joking with him prior to bringing him on about him being a star maker, because this man has worked with so many people that you know of and helped to elevate their brand. I mean, I'm talking Mandy Moore. I'm talking Ashton Kutcher, Jessica Simpson. I'm talking Beyonce. I'm talking P. Diddy. I'm talking all of these people he has worked with. He has helped them grow. He's worked with MTV. He is an Emmy Award winner in media advising. So I'm going to bring him here. And I know you're thinking, well, Barrett, how do you get someone like that on your show? I'm just lucky. I'm just really lucky. But I'm going to bring to you guys none other than Vinnie Potestivo. Am I right, Vinnie?
That's it, Doc. You got it.
Yes.
Yo, how easy was it to be that lucky, or how much hard work does it take to? I think that in this universe, when there are two bodies as big as us that how could we not be attracted to each other? How could everything you've been doing and I've been doing not lead to this moment? And I didn't know that about Byron Allen. I love his journey. I'm obsessed with this case. 20 years ago, Pusha T was hired to produce the ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Yeah.
Justin was already attached to the single, and McDonald's offered him a buyout, and ultimately he took it. And I bring that up because just this year alone, Pusha T announced that he retracked Arby's soundtrack, Arby's jingle, and he's got a whopping 40% equity as a publisher in that jingle now. So I think that this timing of Byron Allen is really important, especially to McDonald's.
Yeah.
I think that we have to have really hard conversations, and more so, we have to believe in ourselves. There's so much that other people will want us to do. And I say this to Pusha T 20 years ago, and I know he heard this message. I didn't say this, but I'm telling him this 20 years ago that I know he got now. Believe in yourself. Like, you know, you got the skill. That's why they're coming to you. Now, it makes me wonder if McDonald's would run that jingle as much or else, because suddenly it becomes expensive,
Good
or
point. Good point.
where the money goes. There's different repercussions. I've worked at MTV where talent said, you know what, I don't want to have an overall contract, just a couple of $100 per shoot day so I can cover the cost of travel. Unfortunately, what that did was most episodic. So TV shows have budgets.
Yes, of course.
Usually the episodes have a smaller budget that's part of a larger budget. And generally speaking, talent wasn't accounted for on a per episode basis because most talent was contracted on a larger basis. So by actually having a simpler contract, an easier, what I thought would be an easier contract, I made it more difficult for people to get hired because you got to get money where the money is.
Right.
And in this creator economy, I'm all about and I am leaned in, media boss. I hear you loud and clear. I got my feet planted firm on the ground. I got some notes I want to share, but I'm excited to hear what you're seeing. And just mentioning Byron Allen out of the gate gets me excited about what we're about to do.
Well, good. Like I said, I remember when he was on Real People back in the day. So it's like, and back in the actually it was 1990. I was in California for a media convention, and they did a special tribute to the late comedian Robin Harris, and he was one of the comedians. So I got to see him do stand up live at that point. And who knew that he was going to grow to this? And I'm like extremely proud of what he's done. I mean, he owns the Weather Channel for those of you who didn't know. And he has really grown into a media mogul. And I know he just had a suit with Comcast a while ago. I think he won that suit, or he won something with it, so that he whatever it was, I know he didn't lose. I know whatever he wanted from Comcast, because it was the same type of situation.
It was it was a case based on racism. Absolutely, it was. Yeah.
And I don't know the
racial bias, at least. Was it adjudicated? Exactly. Did that case get adjudicated in something final, or is it?
I don't think
it was settled out.
But I think he got what he wanted in order for it to move forward.
Which probably is a little financial remuneration, but more than anything. Now I understand why he's doing what he's doing at McDonald's. Yeah. Because when you win a case like that, regardless of if it's in court or not, it's so important to continue that conversation. So
exactly. And
I didn't know that, and I'm leaned in, and I'll be more mindful of this too. In any way I can. I don't know him. I've never gotten a chance to work with.
Well, let's make it a point to get to know him. How about that?
Cool. Why not? I'll do it. You want to see how it works?
I would love to interview him. That would a dream come true. I'd love to interview him.
Yeah, I grew up. I know in the early '80s. I think is when early '80s is when that show that comedy show was on. Yeah. Because I remember like MTV wasn't funny. It was music videos, and I didn't like rock, so I didn't connect to it. And I'm the oldest of my family, but of my father, who's the oldest of his family, so I was very close in age to my aunts and uncles. So I kind of grew up in an older house.
He was on that show. The only other person was Sarah Purcell. She was she was the other person on that show, Real People, with him back in the day. He did a lot of writing for people as well. A lot of comedy writing as well. And
comedy is hard.
Well, man,
you think it's easy being funny? Ooh, you got to know what's not funny. To be funny, that's hard.
See, I can sing, and I remember I was singing at this karaoke thing, and it was a contest. So if you won the contest, you got a chance to open for a comedy show they did and just sing the same song. So I sang the song, and the host of the show, who was also a comedian, he said, "Man, I couldn't do what you do." I said, "No, man, I couldn't do what you do." I get up there, I sing the song. I don't have to wait for them to laugh or anything. If they laugh, it's a bad thing anyway. But I said, but the thing is, you have to wait every few seconds. You have to wait for a laugh, and that would kill me.
Yeah, right. If that's what fed the fuel, absolutely. I love that about singing, though, that you kind of get into your own world.
Yeah, and then when it's done, it's done. You can leave. Yeah. Especially if I'm just doing one song,
Yeah, that's also the power of music, man. The power of accompaniment, I should say, is so important, and it's that collaboration between lyrics and accompaniment that allows the room to not have to react, for you to be able to And that's what, stand-up comics don't have the accompaniment, unless,
Exactly.
by the way, there's Hisan Minaj I was just watching on Netflix, and he actually called himself, what was the term he called himself as a comedian? A PowerPoint comedian.
A PowerPoint comedian.
Meaning, like, there's a visual slide that goes with this joke, and I thought, oh, that's accompaniment. That's really cool.
That
Like
is.
it's a
Well, I
work.
mean, there's some that use props. I mean,
Yeah, cat, right?
Howie
Remember?
Mandel was famous for using props all the time.
Yeah, Carrot Top, right? And
And
then
Gallagher.
Gallagher, of course, you remove those props, and they're like,
Yeah, yeah. So,
uh.
Howie Mandel was a nut anyway, so he probably would have been funny. But
That's when
yeah.
we tuned in. Yeah, it's fun.
So tell me, man, what is a media advisor? You won an Emmy, man. What is a media advisor?
Oh yeah, thanks. When someone comes to me with a project, sometimes it'll be a goal, a word, access to something, a character, an athlete. And what I try to do is help them figure out the best way to execute that.
Okay.
Where does it live? Where does it premiere? What are the offshoots of it? The creative offspring to it? How does TikTok support it? Is this a TikTok project? Are we talking about a TV show? Should we launch this as a podcast first? Because the level of access you have is unique. And that's something that isn't in the podcasting game yet. We can get some press on that, leverage press and access to allow a production company to take action. So I'm really strategic as a
I can tell.
Yeah, thank you. I apprete that.
Wow.
I'm not manipulative, but just strategic.
I did not say that. I did not think that.
There's a point where we can exploit people's stories, and there certainly are people who do that. I think that I came into the industry desperately wanting to support people, being told that I wasn't talented. So I knew all I could do was surround myself with the most talented people. Why? Because if I got in trouble, my mom would be like, Vin, those 5 friends, that's the reason you get in trouble. You're the sum total of the 5, right? So I'm like, cool. If that's true on that end of the totem pole, it's got to be true on this end of the totem pole.
That's a good point.
It worked out.
Get good, better friends. That's all you got.
More creative, right? The people, and I feel weird sometimes saying that. I tell it to my people who are in my top 5, and they're like, you mean you sought to be my friend? Like, what are you saying? I'm like, yeah, I made a conscious decision. There's lots of I'm exposed. There's lots of seeing people, but connecting. No, when I see that opportunity, I've got to do everything in my power to make sure that this happens, because time is tricky, money is tricky, people's intentions are tricky.
Yeah,
I don't like any of no me gusta. I don't like any of that. But I got to play with it.
I sought to be your friend, and we're seeking to be Byron Allen's friend. So it's just
yes. This is very and it comes from the best place ever, right?
It does.
It's not like I'm not. It's truly. I want to be a part of what he's doing. That's why.
Me too. I mean, I love it. Like I said, I've followed him for some time, and I'm just like really, I'm amazed by this, and I'm proud of it as well. So it's like I love seeing this journey, because he's not, on the economic level that some of these people are in that industry.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing this kind of grassroots, and it's like you see some of the shows that he put out, they weren't able to get onto major networks.
Right.
He had to put them on late at night and stuff. And I love the fact of how he built that. So it's cool. I'm real interested in that.
I'm getting goosebumps thinking about this. I'm thinking about you mentioned Beyonce. It's funny. It's funny.
I was literally just about to talk about that.
Well, I'll tell you what. The thing about this Beyonce story is that Beyonce was in a movie on MTV. It was the first time she ever had a solo lead role before Beyonce, the solo artist, came out. And it was a film called Carmen, a hip opera. So MTV decided to take Carmen and turn it into take the opera format and turn it into a hip opera. Robert Townsend directed it.
That's my man.
Yo, so here's what happens. Robert Townsend's come to New York to audition Beyonce for this lead role. I'm the casting associate at MTV who's got the camera in the conference room. Not even, by the way, not even a green room, zero fancy, not even a light, by the way.
Wow.
A regular conference room, a little tiny old camera, and Beyonce's coming in. I was terrified. I was starstruck, excited, all over Robert Townsend.
Yeah.
Beyonce, I was like, Beyonce, just get the
I
lines
would
right.
be the same way.
Whatever you got to do. This is Robert. You got to work with this. Like, I mean, come on, literally, Eddie Murphy Raw got me through college. So, like,
Yeah.
I just have to say it that way. Like, it gave
Dude,
me.
I was talking about Raw last week. Just a
Oh
few days
yeah,
ago. Yeah. So yeah,
I got it.
I'm the same way. I would be more about Robert Townsend to Beyonce. That's my man.
So I was excited. So we go to do the rehearsal. So with actors, they get sides, they get a script, they memorize their lines, they come in, they rehearse it. So here I am, for some reason, as a casting associate. I think this is my opportunity to be a director. Like I'm like rolling on the floor like a camera. Like you've been in sports journalism.
Yeah.
Like should I get the long lens, Robert? He's like, no, dude. Beyonce, the scene, Beyonce in the movie, Beyonce comes down the stairs, Mekhi Phifer. There's a couple of the actors around her. It's all about eyesight, and then she says her words. So I stepped back. I'm going to get Robert and Beyonce. I'm going to show the chemistry between the two of them. And this is the coolest moment. And I didn't realize this until I started on podcast maybe 2 years ago and started telling the story. And I had an aha moment. And so Beyonce does her first take. It was good. It was okay. And then Robert says, okay, so Vinny, here's what I want you to do. I want you to get really close to her face. Like he takes my hand and he's like 6 inches from Beyonce's face. I just only want to look at her eyes. I don't need to see if she can act. I can see she can act. I know she can act. I'm in the room. That's fine. I just only want to look at the eyes. And I remember being like, oh, I'm so sorry, Beyonce, that Robert Townsend just gave me a note in the middle of your audition. Like I felt horror. Actually, I remember being like, oh, I can't believe I'm getting notes and she's not. And like, this is not my moment. What am I doing that I did? I realized what he was doing. There's two powerful creative communicators. They don't need to talk to each other to get what they want. They just need to let each other know what what the goals are. Robert didn't need to tell Beyonce, hey, I want you to focus a little bit more on your eyes. You're looking around the room too much. Maybe just show me you can There was zero negative feedback in that exchange. In fact, he gave me the note and none of it was negative. Six inches. I want to see the face, just the eyeball. What he was doing was telling her. I realized that. I was like, he was talking to me, but she was listening, and these were her notes, and I thought they were my notes, and he gave me Beyonce notes, and she took Vinnie notes. Like
that is like so cool.
And I wish I realized that then, the power that creators have. There was trust in the room, right? There was also, why disparage talent? Why just because you didn't get the results you want, do you have to go into feedback in any way in a negative form to get the positive results?
Right.
At MTV on TRL, we would go live on MTV at 3:30 for 15 years, that show was. And when I got there, I noticed they would have the host come out and line up real quick, about 20 minutes, 15 minutes actually before the show, and they would do a wardrobe check on camera. And I was like, what? I'm like, you're putting our young hosts in front of a camera, in front of a studio audience, because you say you want to see if their wardrobe looks right on TV, and then you're going to judge them and say, this doesn't work. You need to change your hair. You need to, all before we go live. Do you know what that does to the psyche of a performer? Here we are telling them, don't worry, don't be judged. We've created this great space for you. And then 10 minutes before live, I'm going to let a bunch of guys, it doesn't matter what sex they are. It just happened to be a bunch of guys in the control room all of a sudden start saying what people should or shouldn't be wearing.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe we can let hair and makeup and wardrobe take a Polaroid, and then maybe someone can bring the Polaroid into you 30 minutes before the show so you can see what it is. And if you make a change, go through hair and makeup and wardrobe, but don't let that note come from you. If to be really honest, it doesn't need to. And I look back at that Robert Townsend Beyonce moment, not realizing what I was picking up on, but like
it shows the difference.
Greatness. That's the level of greatness. And Beyonce, by the way, I don't take this lightly. Beyonce learned character. She says this. She didn't tell me, but I've read this in quotes that she said. It was in that movie that she learned the art of character development. She created Sasha Fierce. She created the version of Beyonce she steps into that I love and show up for, by the way, in a movie that I got to be a small part of. And again, it's that did it win her awards? No, unfortunately, but was I on the reel when people who were casting, Dreamgirls and all the movies that she got to be a part of in the end? Maybe I'm in Beyonce's reel, But all that
Hey,
to
man.
say, the successes, they come,
Yeah.
time is a tricky beast.
Yeah, that's true. Now, it's funny because Yo MTV Raps.
Yeah,
Are you familiar with Moses Edinburgh?
I am.
Yeah, we went to college together.
Oh, no way. Yeah,
Yeah,
Moses was there. He was still, yeah, Moses was there when I got to MTV.
yeah, Moses. Yeah, Moses is a friend of mine. We went to
Oh,
college.
that's so awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I always, I bring up, look, UMTV Raps is such an American culture, and in so many cultures, UMTV Raps is such a big milestone in modern pop culture. But that was like, how do I say this? That's, I think, what first attracted me to MTV. Like, I didn't like rock music, and
Mhm.
I'm not even saying like I identified as a New Yorker. So
Yeah,
out of the gate,
yeah,
hip hop rap, that to me felt more New York than, nah, I still tuned into MTV to watch, those shows they had, Remote Control, or, whatever shows they
oh
would
yeah,
have on. But when I got to MTV in 1998, and I took this for granted then for sure, but I was taught and it was instilled this in my skill set. The women, people of color, the level of diversity of executives that I was introduced to MTV at, I'm so happy that the change had already
yeah,
been made, and that we weren't having some of these conversations that I hear people having about Michael Jackson in 1993.
yeah,
The
yeah,
same reason why you're saying Byron Allen is saying,
yeah,
yo,
yeah,
my content's not good. Like, you're predicating your entire success on this superstar, but you don't want to put your money, like,
yeah.
something is off here. And
Hmm.
when I got to MTV, I wasn't in the celebrity department. Already was. I wasn't in the music department. There already was. I was kind of in this weird personality, on-air host personality department.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So when it was my job to recast, not Yo MTV Raps, we never recast Yo MTV Raps, but there was a show called Direct Effect that Tyrese
Hmm.
hosted. So when it was time for me
Okay.
to find the new host of Direct Effects, which ultimately became DJ Clue and Lala Anthony,
Wow.
um, I thought to myself, well, heck, first off, this is my job, so I got to come through. I'm not going to go out looking for stars, because I'm not going to get this wrong. I'm not going to pick
Mhm.
the wrong person, because if I go out looking for who they tell me to look for, I'm going to find my version of what they asked. What I'm going to do is go out. I'm gonna call Power 105. I'm gonna call Hot 97. I'm gonna say, hey, it's Vinny from MTV. If you ever need TRL tickets, or you want to come to I was the guy who got VMA tickets.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Come, I'll give you access to MTV if you give me access to talent, so that I don't have to make the wrong decision. Because I know speed of TV, this is a really important decision. What I didn't realize I was doing, though, was networking. I didn't realize that instead of focusing on the transaction of hiring someone or finding something,
Hmm.
what I was doing is networking. And I look back at some of the biggest producers now in the unscripted market, and I'm like, I remember when I was calling you, and you didn't understand what I was talking about. But that's how I did a whole Newlywed series with Nas and Khalees. Unfortunately, it never aired, but it was the first time I ever got to work. It was the first time I ever got to work with Nas, and his first time
Wow.
ever producing a TV show.
Huh.
He's produced a lot since then, and I take that really seriously. The
Man,
decisions we make.
you've done quite a bit, man.
Well, them for me, so much. I can't. I would be.
And see, that's the thing, though.
I left the door open.
Your humility is what gets you there.
Oh,
I
thank
love that
you.
about you, man. No, I'm serious. That's real. I can tell that. And guys, guess what? We're gonna take a break. We're gonna come back with more of Vinnie Potestivo here on the Media Boss Podcast. So stay right where you are. We'll be right back with a little bit more. How are you going to learn everything you need to know about starting a podcast? Well, at the Create Your Podcast Weekend, we put it all in 2 days and help you get your podcast going by next week. That's right, by next week. All you have to do is come to the Create Your Podcast Weekend and let us show you how to get your podcast up and running. We will show you how to attract listeners. We will show you how to get people to pay you for your products and services. What products and services? The products and services we show you how to create, all at the Create Your Podcast Weekend. All you have to do is go to createyourpodcastweekend.com and get registered today. And we have special bonuses. Some of you will even get us to give you the equipment to start your podcast. That's right. We're going to give some of you the podcasting equipment to get started. Go to createyourpodcastweekend.com. That's createyourpodcastweekend.com and get started on your podcast by next week. Starting a podcast can be a daunting task. There's a lot that goes into it, and you're probably wondering if you're able to handle it. Well, why don't you just take 2 days and let us teach you how to do it at the Create Your Podcast Weekend. That's right. We're going to show you all the aspects of how to start your podcast, how to keep your podcast going, how to attract listeners, and how to make money with your podcast. CreateYourPodcastWeekend.com. Get registered right now. Do you have a podcast? Would you like to have it heard by more and more people? Well, Pantheon is the way to go. Unlock the right mindset and tactics with our program. Create momentum with repurposed content. Get paid to build your business. And with Pantheon, we'll even show you how to have a team around you that gives you a community of encouragement. Check out Pantheon today.
You and me together, we could be anything.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Media Boss Podcast. I am Dr. Barrett Matthews, and I am glad to have you here. I got Vinnie Potestivo here with me, man, and he is killing it. I tell you, I know I limit this podcast to a certain amount of time, but I can talk to him all day. I can tell that right now because I'm just learning so much, and I'm saying we have a lot in common here, and I'm really loving this conversation. So, Vinnie, tell us about I Have a Podcast.
Oh, thank you. I Have a Podcast was created out of desperate need to make sure people don't make, I don't want to say I don't want you to make decisions or make bad choices or have to learn the hard way.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, sometimes that's the best way to learn. I'm sitting here as living proof. Like I wouldn't be able to put people first. I wouldn't be such an empath if I didn't have, my own journey and my own struggle to get to how I got to. But what I didn't want to have happen in this independent creator space, whether you're an individual who has a podcast, an entrepreneur who has a podcast, a small SMB owner who has a podcast that's actually equity of the business that you're working for.
Yeah.
There were things that happened that I saw that helped push projects through and also were the nail in the coffin, so to speak.
Yeah.
Developing a show without an audience in mind, first and foremost. I can't tell you how many people go, oh, I have a great idea. Okay, what network is it going to be on? It can be on any network. Well, no network wants a show that can be on any network anymore. There used to be a time, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
And some networks didn't even play that way. Like when I was at MTV, I couldn't even bring VH1 talent over to the network. In fact, we wanted to. I'll say this: we wanted Hillary Duff. We wanted something from Hillary Duff, and there was a conversation about her being so closely established to Disney, and ultimately. So there's weird energy,
I get it.
MTV, they think well, how could they possibly be on MTV if they were on VH1? 10 years ago, as if that's I think VH1 was supposed to be where your older brother goes to watch when you and your friends are watching MTV down in the basement and it's cool. I don't know about you, but I watch MTV a whole lot now, mostly because Mona Scott, Young, like the people that I grew up with in the hallways of MTV that were always the stewards to the storytellers, regardless of manager, label rep. We were all in the room. We all were doing things that I don't want to say we weren't getting paid for, but we knew we had to do. Like we were the ones in the room, and that matters.
And I'll be honest, I'm old, so the closest I come to watching MTV right now is the 80s on 8 on Sirius XM.
I'm like, I don't want to have this conversation either. I
I
get
make I hear Nina Blackwood and all those guys on there.
I
And it's
love
like,
Nina.
oh, I remember them. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's weird for me too because like I remember when it was time to replace Carson on TRL,
Oh,
and
yeah.
so as I said, we couldn't bring from VH1 to MTV, but we could Nickelodeon to MTV, and that was the path for Nick Cannon. But if you told me 20 years later that Nick Cannon would be the old guy on the network,
I know.
with Rob Dyrdek and TJ Lavin, like this idea of I never in a million years thought. I actually didn't think he was going to stay the host. I thought maybe that baton might have changed. But I think that show culturally had relevance, commercially had relevance in a way
Yeah.
that was bigger than we ever expected.
Yeah.
That's why.
A lot of these people have, they started out in one spot and they just evolved, and you just never knew what was going to happen.
And also I remember having conversations with Nick Lala. I remember having conversations with people, creators, talent that identified as talent, Ashton Kutcher. They weren't in there because they necessarily loved being hired to be on camera. Everyone had dreams of creating more content, and the more content, the more opportunities, the more community you can build that would not only just watch these shows but create it and build it. And I saw that happen at
Yeah.
MTV. And MTV was, I don't want to say loyal because it's a business, and I know
Yeah.
it's because it's not. So I'll say it that way.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say that.
None
But
of them are. None of them are loyal.
Well, they're most of the networks are publicly traded company entities that we find Americans own on the publicly stock trade.
Yes.
A&E History Channel and Lifetime is actually owned by a family. It's not a publicly owned company, and I could tell you the differences on that channel versus some other ones. But the thing I like about where the platforms are now, I was maybe frustrated 10 years ago where I felt like, what are you doing with reality TV? Like I thought we were gonna go like the Osbournes, and now we're giving it to the kids from the Jersey Shore. Like, it just helped me figure out which direction we're going in, and then every network took it on themselves. That's why I thought to myself, I don't want to be a strategist and help people just see the way through their economy. I want to give them tactics. That's something that people aren't talking about. Everyone seems to have oh my God, you should create a telenovela because it's, you have the audience. What do you know about writing a dynamic? I don't even know how many different relationships live in an 8-person ensemble, probably 100 and something. I can't even imagine that level of. So that's why I think I get really passionate about this creator economy and making sure that we know how to speak brand, that brands know how to speak creator.
Oh wow, that's sentence right there. That's huge.
Yeah.
That's very huge.
Yeah.
So, Vinny, is there something before I let you go? Is there anything that you want the audience to know about what you're working on? How we can support you, man? I'm happy with you today.
Oh, well. First off, this was a fun chat to see what we don't know but do know about each other.
Yeah.
What would be fun is when we get some. I'm gonna go get some more names so we can keep going back and forth.
Yes. We're gonna have some more. You guys could be here. We're gonna have some more fun.
I like this, and also like the people who. It's a smaller industry. As this industry explodes, there are certain names that are going to continue to carry. I want to make sure that I strengthen that bond between us, first and foremost. The thing I want people to know about discovery is visibility times action, and an action is sharing. If you're looking to get discovered, you need to be visible, and you need to let your discoverer have some type of action. And my preference is to let that action be share. That can be share your name, share your phone number, share your merch, share your album, share your podcast, share an experience, share a story that you told. By the way, share a punchline to a joke. Sharing is the number one thing. And that's one of the things I think we don't do a good job at, is creating the little pieces that allow us to be shareable. We work so hard to get discovered from a visibility perspective. Our fonts, our logos, our names, all that shiny crap.
Yeah.
And then we're like, I don't want to go on social media. Well, you know what? Social media, that's what people share.
That's what people share.
So when my mom watched the Christmas special and saw Michael Bublé singing for the first time, the first thing she did is went to Walmart and bought 10 of his albums so she can share it with all the kids and by the way, all the teachers at school, because there's an inherent pride in discovering somebody. And these are things that we can let people be better at discovering us when we give them the little pieces to share.
Oh no, that was great. And tell your mom I love Michael Bublé. But thank
Will.
you so, Vinny. Thank you so much for joining us today, man. You're welcome anytime, man. Me and you can
I
talk for days.
appreciate that.
I love it, man.
Let's do
Vinnie
something.
Potestivo, everybody. Thank you so much, and guys, I'm gonna have him back again. So thank you once again, Vinny.
Yes, thank you. And y'all listening to this, go reach out to Byron Allen. Tell him about us because
Please.
this is gonna happen. I'm telling you. I'm
It's
putting
gonna
out
happen.
some energy.
It's gonna happen. We're gonna make it happen.
Yeah.
Thanks, Vinny. Appreciate you. All right, guys, that was Vinnie Potestivo. I have something for you. For those of you who love the Media Boss podcast, I love you too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a free gift. And that is my training on how you can get more clients that want to pay you. That's right, they want to pay you. So what I want you to do is simply go to www.5waystoPayingClients.com. How simple is that? 5waystoPayingClients.com. It's my free training from me to you. Now, we're going to take a break, but we're going to come back and we get out of here on the Media Boss podcast differently than other people do. Now, what I want to do, though, is give you a little incentive to come back, because what we're going to do is make it so that when you travel, because I know a lot of you like to travel, that you can travel with a little extra money in your pocket. Huh? How about that? So stay right where you are. We'll be right back with more of the Media Boss podcast. Do you have a podcast? Would you like to have it heard by more and more people? Well, Pantheon is the way to go. Unlock the right mindset and tactics with our program. Create momentum with repurposed content. Get paid to build your business. And with Pantheon, we'll even show you how to have a team around you that gives you a community of encouragement. Check out Pantheon today.
You and me together, we could be anything.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Media Boss podcast. Vinnie Potestivo was fantastic. Oh, man, I loved him. And I want to have him back. We're going to continue talking. You guys are just not going to be here for it. But anyway, if you love the Media Boss podcast, like I said, I love you too. So one thing I'd love for you guys to do is go to patreon.com/Media Boss podcast. Let us know you love us, and we'll show you some love right back. We have some great perks for you guys. Also, I just gave you guys a free gift, my complimentary training for you. 5waystoPayingClients.com. Go to 5waystoPayingClients.com. Learn how to get some clients that want to write a check to you. Okay, how about that? Now, for those of you who are serious about becoming a media boss, I mean using all the things that you're learning here and other places about how to incorporate media in your business, I have a 5-day challenge for you. It's a 5-day challenge. It's called the Make Money from Media Challenge. Make Money from Media Challenge. I want to help you guys learn about getting a podcast, a book, a TV show, a film, on social media, all of these things, live streaming. I want to show you guys how to get all that and how to monetize them. Go to www.makemoneyfrommediachallenge.com. I make it real simple for you guys. Makemoneyfrommediachallenge.com. Go there, register it. If you come in as a VIP, you get a little bit of extra out of it as well. You get a chance to win some prizes. Now, I spoke to you earlier about getting something for you, so a little perk for you. Now, what I want you all to do is to subscribe and share the Media Boss podcast. You heard Vinny talk about sharing. I want you guys to share the Media Boss podcast. If you go to iTunes or Spotify and you leave us a good review there, I want you to screenshot that and go to our Facebook group, Media Boss Club. Join the Media Boss Club. Go to our Facebook group and leave that picture of your review there. When you do, I'm going to send you a $100 savings at any hotel in the world. You get to, so when you travel, you have a discount savings for hotels that you can use anywhere in the world. So go ahead and do that. Take action on that, guys. Now, I told you, we leave this podcast different than other podcasts. So what we're going to do is this. Those of you who know, you know what we do. So when you come back, you'll know as well. So here we go. We're going to count down from 3. 3, 2, 1. Media boss out.